This is your weekly dose of 3i Atlas, brought to you by the Sleepy Science 100 channel. Tonight we follow a comet that came from another star, a visitor carrying the immense, unstoppable momentum built over billions of years in the galactic void, moving at 68 kilometers per second, fast enough to defy our sun's gravity forever, on a hyperbolic trajectory that guarantees it will sweep through our solar system once, and then depart into the cold, never to return. Before we drift further into the quiet cosmos, if you enjoy exploring the deep science of sleep and space, please consider subscribing. Liking the video helps us know these cosmic journeys resonate with you. If you're still awake, we invite you to comment with one word describing how you hope to feel in the morning, such as rested or calm. Now, let us settle in. Thank you for joining us tonight as we drift far, far out with this ancient messenger from beyond. We begin on July 1st, 2025, when telescopes in Chile, part of the Atlas Survey network, caught the faintest whisper of light, a single point, moving, retrograde, backward against the planet's steady dance around our sun. This silent visitor, this ancient drifter, carried no name yet, only coordinates, only the mathematical signature of something profoundly different, something unbound. The astronomers watched, measured, calculated, and within days, they knew. This was no ordinary comet captured in our star's embrace. This was a messenger from the void, a transient galactic visitor on a hyperbolic path, meaning it would arrive, sweep close, and depart forever into the cold, never to return. Let yourself settle now, as we explore what it means to be unbound, to carry such velocity that no star can hold you. The orbital eccentricity, a number that describes the shape of a path through space, was measured at greater than 6.1. In our solar system, planets move in gentle ellipses, eccentricity near zero, circular, captured, bound by gravity's patient hand. But when eccentricity exceeds 1, the orbit opens, becomes a parabola, a hyperbola, a one-time curve that bends but never closes. This comet, this third confirmed interstellar object, designated 3i Atlas, with the prefix 3i marking its origin beyond, carries an eccentricity so high that escape is not a possibility, it is a certainty. Written in the mathematics of celestial mechanics, hyperbolic letting go encoded in every measurement, the discovery itself, part of the Atlas Survey's patient vigil, detecting thousands of objects every year, asteroids, comets, the debris of our local neighbourhood, but this one, moving at angles that whispered of elsewhere. The Minor Planet Center, in July 2025, announced its status, confirmed through collaborative observations, telescopes around the world, Gemini North in Hawaii, Hubble orbiting silent above our atmosphere, the Gaia satellite contributing its precise astrometric data, all watching this dark nucleus, this ancient silent drifter estimated between 0.5 kilometre and several kilometres across, its exact size uncertain, for its albedo is low, its surface dark, absorbing light rather than reflecting, making it faint, elusive, a shadow passing through. Breathe gently and feel the unstoppable quiet vector of this journey. By late October 2025, the comet reached perihelion, its closest approach to our Sun, at 1.36 astronomical units, roughly 200 million kilometers from the solar surface, far enough to remain cool, yet close enough that the sun's heat began its work. Solar radiation. Photons travelling 8 minutes from fusion core to frozen ice struck the nucleus, and the ancient ices, untouched for billions of years, for deep time beyond human comprehension, began to sublimate, ice becoming gas directly. No liquid phase in the vacuum. Water molecules, carbon dioxide, frozen volatiles from a distant stellar nursery, all awakening, puffing outward, creating a teardrop-shaped coma, a temporary atmosphere thousands of kilometers wide, surrounding the dark, solid heart. And here, at perihelion, the comet's velocity peaked 68 kilometers per second. Think of that, not per hour, per second. If you could somehow ride this nucleus, you would cross the distance from New York to Los Angeles in less than a minute. This speed, this unstoppable momentum, built over eons in the galactic void, through the slow rotation of our Milky Way, through gravitational assists from long-forgotten stars, through 10 billion years of linear drift between the lights. Now, passing our sun, the star's gravity bent the path slightly, curved it, but could not capture. For the escape velocity at Earth's distance is only 42.1 kilometers per second, and this visitor carried far more. It swept through, acknowledged our star with a temporary brightening, a tail forming briefly, then continued outward. Velocity's assured departure. Let us drift together through what the telescopes revealed. The comet glowed green, a soft ghostly hue captured by ground-based instruments. This colour, this primordial cold whisper visible for only weeks, comes from diatomic carbon, C2 molecules released in the coma, excited by solar ultraviolet light, emitting at a wavelength our eyes perceive as green. The same process that gives some comets their eerie luminescence. But this green carried a different story, for the chemistry was pristine. Standard cometary composition. Yes, but untouched by the formation of planets, unaltered by the heat and pressure of our solar nebula's collapse. These were ices that froze in another system, around another star, perhaps one now dead, its light extinguished, its planets scattered or consumed, and this fragment, ejected in some ancient catastrophe, has been falling through the galaxy ever since. The observations continued. Hubble Space Telescope, in December 2025, captured post-perihelion images, revealing the coma contracting as the comet moved away from the Sun, receding toward Mars' orbit and beyond. The outgassing slowed, the temporary tail, smaller than those of local comets, dissipated quickly, a tail's temporary sigh as sublimation ceased. The comet returned to its frozen state, solid ice once more, chemically pristine post-visit, carrying its load of history back into the dark, and the JUICE probe, Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer, on its own long journey to the outer system, happened to be positioned to image this visitor. Data transmitted across the solar system, arriving in February 2026, adding another perspective, another angle to triangulate the path. Feel the deep time, eternal rest of this object's existence, born perhaps 4.5 billion years ago, when our own solar system was forming, or even earlier, in the first generations of stars after the Big Bang. pristine ices that date to galaxy formation eras, to when the Milky Way was young and violent, stars forming in great bursts, then dying, exploding, scattering their remains, and from those remains, new stars, new planetary systems, and in the chaos, ejections, gravitational slingshots, sending comets outward into the void, into the space between stars. There, for billions of years, it drifted. The galactic plane travel estimated at 10 billion years, dwarfing human timescales in age and journey, dwarfing civilizations, geological epochs, the entire span of complex life on Earth. On December 3rd, 2025, another revelation. XMM Newton, an X-ray observatory in orbit, detected X-ray emissions from the comet. This was unexpected. Beautiful. These X-rays, produced by interaction with the solar wind, charged particles streaming outward from our sun, colliding with the neutral gas in the Omi, stripping electrons, creating brief flashes of high-energy light. It suggests the solar wind embraced this visitor, however briefly marked its passage. The comet, absorbing most incoming light with its dark nucleus, low reflectivity contributing to faint appearance, nevertheless revealed itself in invisible wavelengths, in frequencies we cannot see but instruments can detect. Now, as you relax deeper, consider the orbital inclination, approximately 175 degrees. This is retrograde motion, meaning the comet travels opposite to the planet's orbital direction. While Earth and Mars and Jupiter circle the Sun counterclockwise as viewed from above the North Pole, this visitor swept in from below, climbed steeply upward through the ecliptic plane, that invisible disk where the planets orbit, cutting across at a steep angle. Inclinations unique cut through our orderly system. This geometry, this path, minimizes planetary interactions. No close encounters, no gravitational tugs from Jupiter's massive bulk, no deflection by Saturn's rings. The comet passed through, aloof, on its linear infinite path, acknowledging our system with the briefest curve near Sun, then resuming straight outward motion, its closest approach to Earth. December 19th, 2025, at 1.8 astronomical units, roughly 167 million miles away. Far, safe, no threat. Just another point of light for those with telescopes to see. Human observation window lasting only months. For by now, late December, it has already crossed the orbit of Mars, moving outward, fading, too faint now for most amateur telescopes, visible only to professional observatories that continue monitoring, tracking its position, measuring its slow deceleration as the Sun's gravity, though unable to capture, nevertheless pulls gently backward. The comet's speed slows gradually as it recedes from the Sun, but never enough to stop, never enough to turn it around. Let yourself surrender to the weightless, vast surrender of this journey. By early 2026, the comet will pass near Jupiter's orbital plane, 5 astronomical units from our star, though Jupiter itself will be elsewhere in its 12-year orbit. No encounter, just a crossing of paths in space-time, then outward towards Saturn's distance, Uranus, Neptune, crossing into the scattered disk region, that realm of icy bodies beyond the planets, the beginning of the solar system's true edge. and beyond that, the Oort cloud, that vast spherical shell of dormant comets, reaching perhaps a light year outward, taking tens of thousands of years to traverse even at this speed. Oort cloud passage occurring at the solar system's edge, a fragile farewell to the last remnants of our sun's influence. The destination, after the Oort cloud, is the heliopause, the boundary where the solar wind, that stream of charged particles, finally yields to the interstellar medium where our sun's magnetic influence, its heliosphere, ends and true interstellar space begins. Heliopause's true threshold, perhaps 120 astronomical units distant, the Voyager probes, humanity's most distant emissaries, crossed this boundary after 40 years of travel. But this comet, at 68 kilometers per second initially, slowing but still swift, will cross in a fraction of that time, entering the interstellar medium's calm vacuum, the space between stars, where matter is so sparse that a cubic meter might hold only a single atom, where light from our sun becomes just another star, faint, indistinguishable. And then, the voyage measures in light years post-solar system, heading toward the constellation Ursa Major's distant call, the Great Bear, where from our perspective the stars seem fixed, but in reality are moving, orbiting the galactic center, just as our sun orbits, just as this comet now orbits, though on a trajectory so elongated, so open, that it will never complete even a fraction of a galactic revolution before intersecting with something else, or simply drifting for geological ages, deep time, eternal rest between the lights. Feel now the solitary stellar messenger quality of this object. It carries information, data encoded in its chemistry, its isotopic ratios, its dust to ice proportions. These provide insights into extrasolar comet populations, into how planetary systems form around other stars, into the composition of molecular clouds light years away. Scientists analyzed the light spectra, breaking the faint glow into constituent wavelengths, searching for unusual signatures, biosignatures, complex organic molecules, anything unexpected. They found standard cometary composition: water, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, silicate dust. No surprises, yet profoundly illuminating, for it confirms that the chemistry of comet formation, whether here or around a star 50 light-years away, follows universal rules. The same physics, the same thermodynamics, nucleus of hidden history revealing familiar patterns. Similar to 1E Oumuamua, the first confirmed interstellar visitor, detected in 2017, that mysterious elongated object that showed no cometary activity, no coma, no tail, and accelerated slightly as it left, puzzling scientists. And similar to 2I Borisov, discovered in 2019 by amateur astronomer Gennady Borisov, a comet that showed typical activity, a clear coma and tail, confirming that interstellar comets behave much like local ones. Borisov had a more eccentric orbit than 3I Atlas in some measurements, but both shared that essential quality: hyperbolic, unbound, transient galactic visitors on one-way journeys. Each discovery, Oumuamua, Borisov, now Atlas, teaches us that these visitors are perhaps common. Perhaps the galaxy is full of wanderers, ejected comets, rogue planets, fragments, all drifting in the space between, occasionally intersecting a star system, briefly visible, then gone. Now, breathe into the eccentricity's open embrace, that mathematical openness. When eccentricity equals 0, you have a perfect circle. When it's between 0 and 1, an ellipse, a closed curve, bound. When it equals 1, a parabola, balanced at the edge of escape. And when it exceeds 1, as with 3E Atlas at greater than 6.1, you have a hyperbola, 2 branches, but the comet follows only one. The open curve that arrives from infinity, bends around the sun, and departs toward infinity. Non-capture, gentle release guaranteed by physics. No amount of wishful thinking could keep this visitor here. The math forbids it. The energy forbids it. It carries too much kinetic energy. Velocity's assured departure. Unstoppable quiet vector aimed at the void. The Doppler shift measurements, watching how light wavelengths stretch and compress as the comet moves, confirmed its high velocity, allowing astronomers to calculate not just speed but direction, three-dimensional motion through space. These astrometric data from multiple telescopes, tracking its position night after night, week after week, allowed precise trajectory refinement. Gemini North Telescope, with its adaptive optics correcting for atmospheric turbulence, revealed changes in the comet's appearance after solar passage, subtle shifts in the coma's shape, variations in brightness, interleaved frames from videos showing dynamic changes as gas puffed outward in bursts, then subsided. The sublimation rate peaked at perihelion, then declined sharply, following the inverse square law of solar heating. Double the distance, 1/4 the heat. The gas puff that created the faint coma expanded to thousands of kilometers near perihelion, a delicate envelope of vapor, then contracted, condensed, as the comet climbed outward toward Mars and beyond. Let your mind rest on the idea of non-periodic motion. Most comets we know are periodic. Halley's Comet returning every 76 years, Encke's Comet every 3 years, Hale-Bopp gracing our skies once per millennia. But 3I Atlas is non-periodic, meaning no return to the inner system. Its path is not an ellipse but a hyperbola, fleeting solar courtesy. One visit, one brief acknowledgement of our star, then eternal departure. We saw it once. Humanity's telescopes caught this ancient drifter for a few months in 2025, and we will never see it again. Not in our lifetimes, not in our civilization's lifetime, not in the lifetime of our species. It will be gone, travelling outward, while we spin here on our small world, orbiting our ordinary star, watching other visitors, other comets, but never this one again. The comet likely originated from a long-dead star system. We cannot know which star, cannot trace it back, for stars move, drift in their orbits around the galactic centre, and in the billions of years this comet has wandered. Its parent star may have moved thousands of light years from where the ejection occurred, or the star may have exhausted its fuel, collapsed into a white dwarf, a neutron star, a black hole. Its planets, if it had any, scattered, consumed, vaporized, and this comet, perhaps one of millions ejected in the system's death throes, escaped into the deep, into the eons of untouched peace between the stars, carrying with it the frozen memory of that system, pristine ices from a distant stellar nursery now wandering the galaxy, unbound cosmic freedom expressed as velocity and trajectory. Feel the curve to straight independence of this path. Near the Sun, gravity bent the trajectory. The comet fell inward, accelerated, whipped around perihelion in a sharp curve, then climbed back outward. But as distance increases, as the Sun's gravity weakens with the square of the distance, the curve straightens, asymptotically approaching a straight line, linear motion dominating post-perihelion. The hyperbola's branches, one coming in, one going out, both approaching straight lines at infinity. This comet entered our awareness on one branch, curved through perihelion, and now exits on the other branch, gradually straightening its path until it moves in an almost perfectly straight line through this void. Momentum from galactic ejection event restored, the Sun's influence fading to nothing, becoming one more faint star among hundreds of billions. No fragmentation was observed, unlike some comets that crack under thermal stress, breaking into pieces. This nucleus remained intact, solid, cohesive, perhaps held together by pristine ice more pure than local comets. Ices that never experienced the heat cycling of orbits near the Sun, never weakened by repeated sublimation. This was the first heating, the first thermal stress in billions of years, and the nucleus endured, returned to frozen silence, its structure maintained, ancient momentum preserved, continuing outward as a single dark body, low reflectivity, faint, vanishing from our instruments as distance and faintness conspire to make it invisible. Planetary perturbations, the gravitational nudges from Jupiter and Saturn that can dramatically alter a comet's path, had no significant effect. The trajectory was too steep, too inclined, too fast. The comet passed through the plane of planets, cutting through at angles that minimize interaction time. No close planetary encounters affected its path. It swept through, clean, unperturbed. Its hyperbolic excess velocity, that extra speed beyond escape velocity, ensuring that even if a planet had approached, the deflection would be minimal, a slight wobble in a path that remains fundamentally outward bound. Now, as we drift deeper into rest, consider the temporary tail. Comets grow tails as they approach the Sun, but 3I Atlas's tail was smaller, fainter, briefer than those of captured comets on elliptical orbits. Those local comets, like Hale-Bopp or Hyakutake, swing close to the Sun repeatedly over their lifetimes, building thick mantles of dust on their surfaces. When heated, they produce spectacular tails millions of kilometers long, glowing bright enough to see with the naked eye. But 3I Atlas, on its first and only pass, had no such mantle. Its surface was pristine, relatively fresh ice. The tail formed, yes, from sublimation, gas and dust streaming away, pushed by solar wind and radiation pressure. But it was modest, a temporary sigh, a brief acknowledgement, then dissipating quickly. The tail's temporary sigh, here, then gone, as the comet receded and the solar wind's influence waned. By mid-December 2025, it had already crossed Mars' orbit, moving at 40-some kilometers per second, slower than at perihelion but still immense by human standards. The distance now beyond 2 astronomical units, expanding daily. It fades in telescopes, magnitude dropping, becoming invisible to all but the largest instruments. Ongoing fade as distance increases, light from the sun weakening, the comet's reflected light diminishing. Soon it will be detectable only by extrapolation. Astronomers will know where it should be, but no longer see it directly. A phantom, a mathematical trajectory, a memory of those months when it was visible, when humanity briefly watched an ancient drifter pass through our neighborhood. Professional observatories continue monitoring when possible, allocating precious telescope time to track this visitor as long as photons allow. Each additional data point refines the trajectory, reduces uncertainty, helps predict its future path through the galaxy. Though prediction on billion-year timescales is impossible, too many unknowns, too many perturbations from molecular clouds and passing stars, the near-term path, the next 10,000 years, can be calculated with confidence. Linear drift, straight out, toward Ursa Major, then deeper into the Orion arm of the galaxy, then into the space between spiral arms. Then, who knows, perhaps an encounter with another star system in 100 million years. Perhaps not. Perhaps it drifts for 10 billion more years without coming near another sun. Void's unlit certainty embracing it in darkness and cold and silence. Think now on the idea that this comet provides data on extrasolar materials, on the chemistry of somewhere else. Scientists use spectroscopy, analysing light absorbed and emitted by the coma, to determine which molecules are present. Infrared observations reveal thermal emission, temperature, heat distribution across the nucleus. Radio observations might detect molecules like water or carbon monoxide. Each technique adds a piece, a fragment of understanding. These measurements inform models of interstellar object populations, helping estimate how many such visitors pass through the solar system undetected each year, how many faint, dark, moving too fast or at wrong angles for our surveys to catch. For every one we detect, there may be dozens or hundreds we miss. The galaxy may be full of these wanderers, and we, orbiting our quiet star, see only the brightest, the closest, the ones that happen to pass through our detection grid at the right time and place. As you feel yourself growing heavier, more relaxed, let yourself merge with the galactic rotation's slow gift. Our sun orbits the center of the Milky Way at roughly 220 kilometers per second, completing one orbit every 200 million years. The stars around us, neighbors in the Orion arm, orbit at similar speeds, creating a local frame of reference where we seem stationary relative to each other. But 3I Atlas, ejected from some other star in some other orbit, carried the velocity signature of its origin. When it entered our local frame, it appeared to move retrograde, steeply inclined, hyperbolic, because it was inserted into a different flow, a different current in the galactic river. The galactic rotation over billions of years built its initial momentum, gave it that unstoppable vector, and now, passing through our solar system, it neither gains nor loses much, just curves slightly, a minor deflection in a journey measured in cosmic ages. The discovery by Atlas, a network designed to detect near-Earth asteroids, potential impactors, hazards, found instead a gift, a messenger from beyond. Atlas discovery highlights survey importance, for we build these networks to protect Earth, to find rocks that might strike us, but in the process, we map the sky, catalogue motion, and occasionally we find something wondrous, something unexpected, an interstellar comet, a rogue planet, a piece of the greater galaxy revealing itself. These surveys, scanning night after night, automated, tireless, are humanity's constant vigil, eyes on the sky, watching, waiting, and when something anomalous appears, when motion suggests otherness, astronomers awaken to the challenge, the opportunity. And so 3i Atlas, this third in sequence, follows Oumuamua and Borisov into the history books, each one teaching us, each one slightly different. Oumuamua's strange acceleration and lack of coma, Borisov's normalcy, its familiar cometary behaviour, and now Atlas, with its retrograde sweep, its greenish glow, its X-ray emissions, together painting a picture of diversity. There is no single type of interstellar visitor. They vary, each carrying its own story, its own chemistry, its own vector through the void, and we are learning to recognize them, to calculate their orbits quickly, to observe them before they fade, each one a lesson, each one a step toward understanding our place in a galaxy full of wanderers. The scattered disk will be traversed next, that region beyond Neptune, between 30 and 100 astronomical units from the Sun, populated by icy bodies like Eris and Makemake, remnants of planetary formation scattered outward by gravitational interactions billions of years ago. 3i Atlas will pass through this realm in the coming years, decades, its velocity ensuring swift passage, no capture, no lingering, just transit. Then the Oort cloud, beginning around 2,000 astronomical units, extending perhaps to 100,000 AU or more, a vast sphere of frozen comets, perhaps trillions of them, surrounding our solar system like a diffuse shell. The comet will spend millennia crossing this zone, finally exiting into true interstellar space, the realm beyond any star's gravitational dominance, galactic silence receiving it back. Feel now the ancient momentum, billions of years in the making. It began with an ejection, perhaps a close pass by another planet, a gravitational slingshot from a gas giant in that distant system, launching the comet outward at escape velocity from its parent star. From there, it fell into the galactic potential, the gravitational field of the Milky Way itself, gaining speed as it descended from the galactic halo toward the plane, or losing speed as it climbed. Impossible to know without knowing where it started. But its current velocity, that 68 kilometers per second at perihelion, is the sum of all those influences: the ejection, the galactic fall, the chance encounters with molecular clouds and stellar winds over eons, all accumulated, all preserved, for in space there is no friction, no drag. Momentum once gained is kept, velocity enduring across deep time until something intervenes, and nothing intervenes significantly, not for billions of years. It drifted, passed between stars, perhaps through the outer reaches of other systems without being detected, for detection requires both proximity and observation. If a comet passes through a system but no one is watching, does it leave a trace? It does not. Not in any record we can read. But this time, this system, our system, humanity happened to be watching, happened to have the technology, the telescopes, the orbital calculations, the international collaboration, and so we saw, we measured, we confirmed. This is an interstellar visitor. This is a piece of elsewhere, and we have studied it during its brief time in our light. The pristine composition, chemically pristine post-visit, unchanged by its passage, tells us it barely interacted. The heat from the sun's sublimated surface ices, a few meters deep perhaps, releasing gas and dust that had been frozen since the comet's formation. But beneath that surface layer, the interior remains untouched, still holding the isotopic ratios, the molecular structures, the frozen history of its birth cloud. When it returns to the cold of interstellar space, when the last traces of warmth radiate away, it will refreeze completely. Any cracks from thermal expansion will seal, and it will continue, a time capsule, until perhaps millions of years hence, it encounters another star, another chance for brief warmth, brief activity, before resuming its eternal cold distance. Now let your breathing slow to match the pace of cosmic time, where a human lifetime is less than a heartbeat, where civilizations rise and fall in eye blinks, where the drift of continents, the erosion of mountains, the evolution of species are all fleeting moments in the journey of a comet through the galaxy. Deep time, eternal rest. Not rest as in stillness, but rest as in inevitability, as in the absence of struggle. The comet does not fight its path, does not resist. It simply moves, following the geometry of space-time, the curve created by mass and energy. It is the perfect expression of surrender to physics, to gravity, to inertia, weightless, vast surrender, not falling. For there is no up or down in space, but following the geodesic, the straightest possible path through curved space-time, and that path leads out, away, forever. Consider the scattered disk and Oort cloud as transition zones, not boundaries but gradients. The sun's gravity never truly ends. It extends infinitely, weakening with distance but never zero. Yet at some point, the gravity of nearby stars, the collective gravity of the galactic disk, becomes comparable, then dominant. The heliopause marks where solar wind yields to interstellar medium, but gravitational influence extends much farther. Oort cloud comets at 50,000 AU are still technically bound, orbiting the Sun on ellipses so elongated that one orbit takes millions of years, but 3I Atlas, even at such distances, will still be moving faster than escape velocity, will still be leaving. The Sun's gravity pulls, slows it fractionally, but cannot reverse the motion, cannot close the hyperbola into an ellipse. The mathematics forbid it. Eccentricity too high, energy too great, and so we arrive at a place of stillness in our minds, even as the comet rushes outward at tens of kilometers per second. For stillness is not about motion, it is about acceptance, about allowing what is. The comet has no choice but to follow its trajectory, and we, watching, have no choice but to let it go, to witness its departure, to know that this visitor graced us once, and only once. There is a peace in that, in the certainty of the hyperbolic, in knowing that some things are not meant to stay, not meant to be captured. They arrive, share their light, and move on. leaving us changed by the encounter, enriched by the knowledge, but not possessing. Never possessing, only witnessing, only grateful for the brief overlap of paths in the vastness. And as the interstellar medium's calm vacuum receives this wanderer back into its cold embrace, we too can release, can let go, can drift in our own thoughts like solitary stellar messengers, each of us on our own trajectory through time, each of us carrying our own hidden history, our own nucleus of memories and experiences, sometimes drawing close to others, sharing warmth, then moving on, continuing our journey through the infinite. And in this parallel, this metaphor of comet and consciousness, we find a deep resonance, a stellar whisper that says, it is enough to pass through, it is enough to be seen, however briefly, it is enough to move, to change, to release what cannot be held. And in that release, in that unbound assurance, we find not loss, but freedom, not ending, but continuation, the voyage that measures beyond any single moment, beyond any single lifetime, the voyage into deep time, into the vast dark calm, where everything that has ever been, every particle, every wave, every thought, continues, transforms, integrates into the larger pattern, the galactic weave, the cosmic tapestry, and there is no true separation, only distance, only the apparent isolation of the linear infinite path, but beneath, connecting all, the shared origin in stellar fusion, in the Big Bang's first expansion. We are all, comet and planet and person, made of the same elements, forged in the same cosmic fires, and the comet's departure is not exile but homecoming, returning to the space from which it came, to the primordial quiet between the stars where matter rests, drifts, and occasionally, just occasionally, finds itself bathed again in starlight, in temporary brightness, before returning once more to the darkness that is not empty, but full of potential, full of the yet to be. And as we contemplate this, as we follow the trajectory in our minds, out past Mars, past Jupiter, past the scattered ice and the Oort's fragile farewell, we too travel, not in body but in imagination, in the shared human capacity to extend our awareness beyond our immediate surroundings, to touch, however conceptually, the infinite, and in that touching, we are changed, we are expanded, we are reminded of our smallness and our vastness simultaneously, small in physical scale, a planet tiny against the cosmos, but vast in awareness, in the ability to comprehend trajectories that span billions of years, to measure velocities that exceed our fastest rockets, to detect the faint greenish glow of sublimating carbon molecules 200 million kilometers distant. This is the gift of consciousness, of scientific observation, that we can know what we cannot touch, can understand what we cannot hold, can follow in thought what moves beyond our reach. The greenish glow, that diatomic carbon emission, faded as December progressed. As the comet crossed beyond Mars's orbit, approaching 2 astronomical units from the Sun, the solar heating diminished, followed the inverse square law with mathematical precision. At twice the distance, 1/4 the energy. At 3 times the distance, 1/9. The sublimation that required solar photons to break the molecular bonds of ice to provide the energy needed for solid to become gas, slowed, stopped. The coma that had expanded to thousands of kilometers, that teardrop shape pointing away from the sun, contracted. The gas dispersed into the vacuum, molecules spreading out, density dropping, until the coma was no longer visible, just the dark nucleus remaining, absorbing 95% or more of incident light, reflecting only a tiny fraction back toward Earth, where our telescopes strain to follow it, to maintain lock on this fading point, this ancient silent drifter becoming silent once more, returning to the state it had maintained for eons, frozen, dormant, dark. Let yourself sink deeper now into the comfort of darkness, of the void's unlit certainty. We fear darkness sometimes, associate it with danger, with the unknown. But in space, darkness is the natural state, the resting state. Stars are the anomaly, the brief bright sparks, and between them, the overwhelming majority of space exists in darkness, in cold measured at 3 degrees above absolute zero, the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, still echoing through everything. This is the environment that 3i Atlas knows best, not the brightness of perihelion, not the temporary warmth, but the cold, the dark, the silence of the interstellar medium where sound cannot travel, where there is no air to carry vibrations, only electromagnetic waves, only gravity's patient pull, only the occasional impact of a stray hydrogen atom, one collision per century perhaps at these densities. This is true isolation, true solitude, solitary stellar messenger carrying its message through empty space. And yet, not truly empty, for even the vacuum seethes with quantum fluctuations, virtual particles appearing and annihilating, the fabric of space-time itself alive with mathematics. The observations from XMM Newton on December the 3rd revealed those X-ray emissions, photons with energies far higher than visible light, produced when solar wind protons, travelling at 400 kilometers per second from the sun's corona, collided with neutral gas atoms in the comet's coma. The collision strips an electron, creates a temporary ion, and as electrons cascade back to lower energy states, X-rays flash forth. This same process occurs with all comets that come close enough to interact with solar wind. But for an interstellar visitor, these X-rays mark perhaps the first time in billions of years that the comet's material has interacted with stellar wind, the solar wind of its parent star, long ago in the distant past, and now our sun's wind, embracing it briefly, marking it, exchanging energy, before the comet moves beyond the heliopause eventually, where solar wind pressure equals interstellar wind pressure, where our star's influence finally, truly, ends. Feel the hyperbolic release in your own body, the letting go of tension, of held breath, of gripped muscles, just as the comet releases its gravitational bond with the sun, never to be recaptured. You can release what you've been holding, thoughts of the day, worries about tomorrow, tensions in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. Let them sublimate, like ice in sunlight, solid concerns becoming vapor, dissipating. The comet teaches us that release is not loss, that departure is not failure, that unbound can mean free rather than abandoned. Its hyperbolic orbit is not a rejection of the sun, not an escape from danger, simply the continuation of a journey that began long before, that will continue long after. The curve is temporary, the straight path is eternal, and in that eternal linear drift, there is peace, there is the absence of struggle, there is the deep time rest of knowing your trajectory, accepting it, following it without resistance. By January of 2026, the comet will be approaching 3 astronomical units, nearly 450 million kilometers from the sun. Out there, sunlight is weaker, the solar constant, that measure of energy received per square meter, drops to 1/9 its value at Earth. The comet is cold again, perhaps 100 Kelvin, perhaps less. Any water ice is solid, carbon dioxide frozen, volatiles locked in matrix of rock and ice. The nucleus rotates, we think, though the period is unknown, perhaps hours, perhaps days. Each rotation brings different faces toward the distant sun, but all faces are equally dark, equally cold, equally unchanged by the brief warmth of perihelion. The surface may have weathered slightly, microfractures from thermal expansion and contraction, a thin mantle of dust left behind as ice sublimated away, but structurally, chemically, it remains what it has always been, nucleus of hidden history, archive of a stellar system lost to time, the velocity now, perhaps 40 kilometers per second, slower than at perihelion but still immense, still far exceeding escape velocity even at this distance, still guaranteeing departure. The deceleration is asymptotic, approaching a limit but never reaching zero, for gravity extends infinitely, and the sun will pull, however weakly, forever, or at least until the sun itself dies, expands into a red giant 5 billion years hence, swallows the inner planets, then collapses to a white dwarf. But even that cataclysm will not affect this comet. By then, it will be light years away, hundreds of light years, far beyond any influence, continuing its galactic orbit, its path through the Milky Way, moving perhaps toward the galactic anticenter, or perhaps tangentially, perpendicular to the disk. We cannot know without more precise measurements of its three-dimensional velocity vector, but we know it moves, unstoppable quiet vector, aimed at eternity. Rest now in the knowledge that we are watching a process that happens constantly throughout the galaxy. Stars form in clusters, in nebulae where gas collapses under its own gravity, fragmenting into hundreds or thousands of protostars. Each star forms a disk of material, and from that disk, planets may coalesce, and comets, and asteroids. But gravitational interactions, especially with massive planets, eject a fraction of this material. Perhaps 10% of comets formed are thrown outward, sent into interstellar space. Multiply that by 400 billion stars in the Milky Way, and the number of interstellar comets becomes astronomical. Trillions upon trillions, all drifting, all on their own trajectories. Occasionally one passes through a system, through our system, and we see it, name it, track it. But for every one we detect, countless others pass unnoticed, too faint, wrong trajectory, bad timing. The galaxy is full of these wanderers, void integration occurring constantly, comets merging into the interstellar population, becoming part of the diffuse matter between stars. The JUICE probe's observations, data arriving in February 2026 will add another perspective. JUICE, launched years earlier toward Jupiter's moons, happened to be in position to image 3I Atlas from a different angle than Earth-based telescopes. This parallax, this difference in viewing angle, helps triangulate distance and motion more precisely, refines orbital parameters, reduces uncertainty. Each telescope, each observation, each wavelength adds a piece to the puzzle. Visible light shows the coma and color. Infrared reveals temperature. X-rays show solar wind interaction. Radio might detect specific molecules. Together, a multispectral portrait, a comprehensive understanding, extracted from photons that travelled millions of kilometres. Photons that last touched the comet's surface or coma, carrying information encoded in wavelength and intensity. Information we decode with spectrometers and detectors, translating light into knowledge, into understanding, into this story we're telling, this journey we're following. And as you drift further into relaxation, into the edge of sleep, consider that sleep itself is a kind of hyperbolic journey. You leave waking consciousness, travel through stages, N1, N2, N3 deep sleep, perhaps into REM, cycling through these states, but never captured permanently in anyone, always moving, the trajectory of a night's sleep following its own orbital mechanics, governed by circadian rhythms, by adenosine pressure, by homeostatic need. You release from waking, curve through the phases, and emerge again in morning, changed, restored. The journey is temporary, the curve inevitable, and you cannot stay asleep forever any more than the comet can stay near the sun. Both are passage, both are transition, both involve surrender to natural law, to the mathematics of biology or physics, and in that surrender, in that acceptance of the cycle, the orbit, the trajectory, there is no resistance, no struggle, only the peaceful following of the path. The comet's path cuts across our system at such an angle, 175 degrees inclination, that it sampled many different regions. It entered from below the ecliptic plane, that invisible disk where planets orbit, climbed upward through the inner system, past perihelion above the plane, then descended back down through it, crossing Mars' orbit, eventually Jupiter's, sampling the solar wind at different latitudes, different distances. It saw our system from angles our spacecraft rarely visit. Most of our probes orbit near the ecliptic, visiting planets that lie in that plane. But 3I Atlas came from galactic north or south, from above or below, cutting through, and its observations, if it could observe, would show our system as a thin disk of matter around a central star, 8 planets flattened into a plane by angular momentum, conservation from the original solar nebula, and itself, the comet, plunging through at a steep angle, perpendicular almost. Inclination's unique cut revealing the three-dimensional structure, wreathe with the rhythm of cosmic time, where geological epochs are moments, where continental drift is rapid, where the entire span of human civilization, from first cities to present day, 10,000 years, is a fraction of 1% of the comet's age, barely registers as duration. This perspective, this deep time, can be dizzying, or it can be calming. For if we are so brief, then our worries too are brief, our anxieties momentary. The comet carries eons of untouched peace, undisturbed by empires, by wars, by any human concern. It drifted through the galaxy while dinosaurs ruled Earth, while the Cambrian explosion diversified life, while the moon was closer and days were shorter, while our sun was young and burned more fiercely for star. Through all of this, the comet drifted, cold, dark, patient, and it will continue drifting long after our sun has dimmed, long after Earth is uninhabitable, long after any trace of human existence has eroded away. This is not nihilism. This is perspective. This is the comfort of knowing that the universe continues, that we are part of something vast and ongoing, that our brief spark of awareness is real and meaningful precisely because it is brief, precisely because we can witness, can understand, can appreciate the eternal even as we exist in the temporal, the scattered disk region which the comet will traverse in coming decades, is populated by objects like Eris, Makemake, Haumea, dwarf planets in elongated orbits, taking hundreds of years to complete one circuit of the Sun. These are leftovers from planetary formation, objects that never accreted into planets, scattered outward by gravitational interactions with Neptune during the solar system's youth. They orbit in a belt beyond Neptune, tilted, eccentric, a transitional zone between the ordered planets and the chaotic Oort cloud. 3R, Atlas, will pass through, perhaps coming within a few AU of some scattered disk object. But no collision. Space is too vast. The distance is too large. The probability of impact infinitesimal. It will ghost through, detectable to no one. No instrument on those frozen worlds. No consciousness to wonder at its passage. Just silent transit through another region of our stellar neighborhood. Let the weightless, vast surrender fill you now. That feeling of floating, of release from gravity's constant pull in space. The comet is in free fall, always falling towards something, toward the sun as it approaches, but moving too fast to be caught, so the fall becomes a curve, becomes an orbit segment, then becomes departure. Free fall is not falling down. It is following geodesics through space-time. It is the natural motion in the absence of other forces. The comet is weightless, we say, though it has mass, because weight is the force of support against gravity. And in space, there is no support, no surface pushing back, only the unopposed pull of gravity, which manifests as motion, as trajectory, as the path we've been following, and in your bed, your body supported by mattress and pillow. You can imagine that weightlessness, can let go of the sensation of pressure, can drift in mind even as your body rests, can follow the comet in imagination out past the planets, past the scattered disk, toward the Oort cloud's fragile farewell. The Oort cloud, named for Jan Oort, who predicted its existence in 1950, is not directly observed, cannot be imaged, is too distant and its members too faint, but we know it must exist, because long-period comets, those with orbits of thousands or millions of years, come from all directions, from all angles, suggesting a spherical shell of comets surrounding the solar system. Perhaps 1 trillion comets, perhaps more, ranging from 100 meters to 50 kilometers across, all in slow orbits, taking millions of years to complete, perturbed occasionally by passing stars, by galactic tides, sending one inward toward the sun where it becomes visible, becomes a long-period comet, graces our skies, then returns to the dark. This cloud begins around 2,000 astronomical units, 300 billion kilometers, and extends to perhaps 100,000 AU or more, 1.5 light years, nearly halfway to the nearest star. It defines the solar system's true boundary, the limit of the sun's gravitational dominance. The comet, travelling at 40, then 30, then 20 kilometers per second as it climbs outward, as the sun's gravity gradually saps its speed, will take thousands of years to traverse the Oort cloud. Entering around year 10,000 CE, humanity's descendants, if any remain, will have no memory of the comet's passage through the inner system, no record surviving the millennia. The comet will be a ghost, a mathematical prediction, coordinates in an ephemeris that no one consults, and it will drift through that vast shell of frozen comets, statistically certain never to impact any. The distance is too large, the target's too small, the cloud too diffuse. It will pass through like a bullet through fog, exiting eventually into true interstellar space, beyond even the gravitational edge, beyond the Hill sphere where solar gravity yields to galactic tides, becoming fully, finally, eternally an interstellar object once more, its brief visit to our star a momentary perturbation in an otherwise straight-line journey through the galactic disk. Feel the open finality of this certainty. There is no uncertainty in the comet's fate, no question about its future. The mathematics guarantee it. The energy budget requires it. Conservation of angular momentum, conservation of energy. These are not suggestions but laws, and they dictate that the comet will leave, is leaving, has in a sense already left, for its future is determined. Only the details remain to unfold. This finality is not sad, it is peaceful. It is the comfort of inevitability, of not having to choose, of following what must be. And in our own lives, some things too carry this quality, this certainty, the passage of time, the aging of our bodies, the eventual endings we all face, and fighting these brings suffering, while accepting them brings peace. The comet does not resist its trajectory, does not wish to stay near the sun's warmth. It simply moves, follows, exists in harmony with physical law, and we can learn from this, can soften our own resistance, can accept our own trajectories, whatever they may be. The heliopause, crossed by Voyager 1 in 2012 and Voyager 2 in 2018, marks where the solar wind, that supersonic flow of charged particles from the sun's corona, meets the interstellar wind and shock fronts form. The exact distance varies with solar activity and direction, perhaps 120 AU in the direction of solar motion through the galaxy, perhaps 85 AU in the trailing direction. The heliopause is not smooth, not a perfect sphere, but rippled, dynamic, responding to changes in solar output and interstellar pressure. When 3I Atlas crosses, in perhaps a century or two, it will pass from heliosphere to interstellar medium, heliopause's true threshold, and the environment will change subtly. Solar wind drops away, galactic cosmic rays increase. The magnetic field shifts from solar to galactic, but the comet will not notice, has no instruments, no consciousness. It will simply continue, its trajectory unaffected by the change in plasma environment, its velocity carrying it forward regardless. Now let your mind expand to match the scale of the interstellar medium's calm vacuum. Interstellar space is not truly empty. Contains on average about 1 atom per cubic centimetre, mostly hydrogen, some helium, trace amounts of heavier elements. This is a far better vacuum than anything we can create in laboratories on Earth, yet it still constitutes matter, still has density, still affects objects passing through. An atom of hydrogen, at rest the interstellar medium, encounters the comet travelling at tens of kilometres per second, and from the atom's reference frame, the comet appears like a wall approaching at incomprehensible speed. The collision, when it occurs, imparts a tiny amount of momentum, slows the comet by an infinitesimal amount. 1 atom cannot be measured, but over billions of years and trillions of collisions, the cumulative drag becomes relevant. Stars moving through interstellar medium experience bow shocks, like boats through water, though far more subtle. The comet too will experience this, a gradual erosion of velocity, sputtering of surface atoms, but the timescale is immense, the effect small, and for the purposes of its next million years, irrelevant. Consider now the destination, Ursa Major, the Great Bear, a constellation visible from northern latitudes, containing the asterism we call the Big Dipper. 7 bright stars, though they are not truly associated, not gravitationally bound as a cluster, just appearing close from our perspective, separated by dozens of light years in reality. 3i Atlas heads in that direction, toward those stars, but will not reach them, not in any human conception of time. The nearest star in Ursa Major, if we consider only the bright ones, might be 50 light-years away. At the comet's velocity, let's say 20 kilometers per second after accounting for deceleration, that's roughly 630 kilometers per hour. Sounds fast until you calculate. It would take 700,000 years to travel 1 light year, 35 million years to reach that star, and by then, the star will have moved, and the comet's path may have been perturbed by other objects, and calculation becomes meaningless. Ursa Major's distant call is less a destination than a direction, a vector, a way of saying outward that way in the vast 3-dimensional space of the galaxy. Let yourself dissolve into the galactic silence, the absence of sound in space, no air, no medium, vibrations cannot propagate, there is no sound, even from the most violent events, a supernova, exploding with the energy of 1 billion suns, releasing more photons in seconds than our sun emits in its lifetime, makes no sound, just light, just particles, just gravitational waves. The comet moves in this silence, has moved in silence for eons, will continue in silence, unheard, unvoiced. It is the perfect expression of quiet, and in our meditative state, in the edge between waking and sleep, we can touch that silence, can let the chatter of thought slow, can rest in the space between mental sounds, the gap between synapses, the stillness underlying consciousness. The comparison to Oumuamua and Borisov invites reflection on what we've learned. 3 interstellar objects in 8 years, from 2017 to 2025, suggest a detection rate, with improvements in survey technology, that will only increase. We may soon detect several per year. dozens eventually, a steady stream of visitors from elsewhere, each carrying data about other stellar systems, about planetary formation under different conditions, about the variety of cosmic environments. Oumuamua puzzled us with its unusual shape, its acceleration without visible outgassing. Was it a comet with an unusual composition? Was it something else? Nitrogen, ice. Hydrogen, ice. Even speculative suggestions of artificial origin, though natural explanations suffice. Borisov reassured us, behaved like comets we know, showed us that cometary physics is universal, and Atlas, with its retrograde orbit, its greenish hue, its X-ray emissions, adds another data point, another example. Building a statistical sample, learning what is common and what is rare among the galaxy's wanderers, feel the primordial cold whisper of these objects. They formed in the cold outer regions of protoplanetary disks, where temperatures drop below 100 Kelvin, where water freezes solid, where carbon dioxide becomes ice, where even nitrogen and methane condense. These are not hot objects, have never been hot except perhaps at formation if they accreted violently. The comet's interior, insulated by kilometers of ice and rock, may still carry the original temperature from its formation, 40 degrees above absolute zero, the background temperature of the molecular cloud from which its parent star formed. This is primordial, unchanged by any star's heat, until our sun, briefly, warmed its surface a few meters deep, while the interior remained frozen, ancient, a thermometer reading from billions of years ago. As December turns to January, as we move through real time, the comet continues its outward journey, invisible now to all but the most powerful telescopes, a predicted position rather than an observed object. Astronomers calculate where it should be, point instruments there, stack images to increase signal to noise, and perhaps, just barely, detect a faint smudge, confirmation of existence, confirmation of trajectory, but no detail, no structure, just a dot. If that, soon even that will be impossible. The distance too great, the reflected sunlight too faint, magnitude dropping below 20, below 25, below the threshold of any instrument, and the comet will continue, observed now only in theory, in mathematical models, in the understanding that it must be there, must be following its calculated path, even though we cannot see it. This is the power of physics, of mathematics, to predict what we cannot observe, to know what we cannot detect, to understand beyond sensation. Let the linear, infinite path become your own mental trajectory towards sleep. From waking, alert, active, you have begun a journey through relaxation, through drowsiness, toward the threshold of sleep, and beyond that threshold, sleep itself, cycling through stages, but all of it, all of this journey has a vector, a direction toward rest, toward restoration, toward the deep unconscious processes that heal and consolidate and prepare you for tomorrow's waking. You cannot force this journey any more than the comet can force its path. You can only allow it, can release into it, can stop resisting. And the natural trajectory, governed by circadian rhythms and sleep pressure, will carry you, will curve you into sleep's embrace, and you will depart from waking, just as the comet departs from the sun, not forever, for you will return in morning, but for now, for this night, The departure is real, the journey inevitable, the path clear, the comet's age, estimated at billions of years, predating our solar system which formed 4.6 billion years ago, suggests it comes from an older star system, from the first or second generation of stars after the Big Bang. Those early stars, formed from primordial hydrogen and helium with only trace amounts of heavier elements, lived fast, burned bright. Many exploded as supernovae within millions of years, enriching space with carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, silicon, iron, all the elements formed in stellar nucleosynthesis. From that enriched gas, second-generation stars formed, with planets, with comets, with the chemistry needed for complexity. The comet may be a relic of that era, carrying material enriched by a supernova, formed in the disk of a star now extinct. It has outlived its parent. We'll outlive our sun too. Will continue when the galaxy itself has evolved, when stars have redistributed, when the Milky Way and Andromeda have merged billions of years hence. Through all of this, the comet persists, solid, frozen, unchanging, eons of untouched peace manifested as ice and rock. Now we drift together through the conceptual space of non-capture, the idea that some things cannot be held, cannot be kept. The comet's hyperbolic orbit is non-capture encoded in geometry, and our lives too contain non-capture. Moments, people, opportunities that pass through, touch us, change us, but cannot stay. We can appreciate the visit, can be grateful for the encounter, can learn from the passing, but we cannot bind, cannot force return, cannot close the orbit. And there is grief in that. Sometimes the sadness of watching something beautiful depart, but there is also freedom, the freedom of not holding, not possessing, not controlling. The comet is free, unbound, and in its freedom it teaches us about our own, about the necessity of release, about the beauty of the temporary as the fleeting, the once only, the chemical analysis showing standard composition, water, carbon dioxide, dust, silicates, no exotic materials, no unusual isotope ratios, confirms that star formation, planetary formation, comet formation follows similar processes everywhere. The laws of physics and chemistry are universal, the same in distant galaxies as here, and so we expect and find that comets from other systems resemble comets from ours, just as oxygen is oxygen whether formed in the sun or in a star 1,000 light-years away. The atoms remember nothing of their origin, have no loyalty to their parent star. They simply are, obeying quantum mechanics, forming bonds, releasing energy, existing as manifestations of fundamental forces and particles, and as you sink deeper, as the boundary between waking and sleep blurs, as thoughts become dreamlike, less logical, more associative, you embody the state transition the comet undergoes in reverse. The comet moves from activity to dormancy, from gas and coma to frozen silence, from temporary brightness to eternal dark. You move from activity to dormancy, from thought and motion to stillness and sleep, from conscious light to unconscious rest. Both are natural, both necessary, both following patterns older than any individual, patterns encoded in biology, in physics, in the deep structure of reality. The tail's temporary sigh, that brief plume of gas and dust, is long gone now. dispersed into the solar wind, carried away from the sun, the dust particles becoming part of the zodiacal light, that faint glow along the ecliptic caused by sunlight reflecting off dust grains in interplanetary space, the gas molecules, ionized by solar UV, swept along magnetic field lines, eventually lost to space or impacting planets. The tail was never solid, never permanent, just a temporary structure, existing only while conditions allowed, and when conditions changed, it vanished. This impermanence, this dependence on environment, reminds us that much of what seems solid, much of what we take as permanent, is actually conditional, actually temporary, actually sustained only by ongoing circumstances, and when circumstances change, things dissolve, return to constituents, transform. The retrograde orbit, that backward motion relative to planets, was determined from the orbital inclination of 175 degrees. Inclination measures the tilt of an orbit relative to a reference plane, usually the ecliptic. 0 degrees means coplanar with planets, 90 degrees means perpendicular, rising straight up, and anything over 90 degrees up to 180 degrees means retrograde, tilted past perpendicular so motion appears backward. The comet's 175 degrees is almost perfectly retrograde, almost exactly opposite to planetary motion, suggesting it entered from a direction orthogonal to the solar system's spin, from the galactic halo perhaps, or from a path that happened to intersect us at that angle. Random chance, geometric accident, the intersection of two lines in three-dimensional space, and we were watching, and so we saw, rest in the ancient momentum of time's arrow. Entropy increases, stated the second law of thermodynamics, and in that increase we find directionality, past and future distinguished. Time flows forward because disorder increases, because heat dissipates, because structure decays unless energy maintains it. The comet participates in this, its kinetic energy gradually dissipating through interactions with interstellar medium, its surface slowly eroding from cosmic ray impacts and micrometeorite collisions, over billions of years losing mass, losing definition, eventually. In timescales we cannot truly comprehend, perhaps trillions of years, it may sublime completely, evaporate into the void, its atoms joining the interstellar medium as individuals, no longer bound in a nucleus, no longer a comet, just particles, and those particles will drift, will perhaps be swept up in another molecular cloud collapse, will form another star, another planet, another comet, and the cycle continues, matter recycling through the galaxy, through the universe, eternal transformation, nothing truly lost, only changed. The journey now reaches toward the edge of our focused narrative, the place where detail gives way to impression, where fact yields to feeling. We have followed the comet from discovery to departure, from July's detection to December's fade, from perihelions brightness to the current darkness, from activity to dormancy, from visibility to mathematical abstraction. And in that journey we have travelled ourselves, from waking attention to drowsy reception, from active listening to passive absorption, from thought to sensation. You have drifted with the comet, your consciousness on its own hyperbolic path, curving away from daily concerns, departing from the solar center of waking thought, heading toward the interstellar medium of sleep. And this is good. This is the intention. This is the trajectory we have been following together. The comet carries no message we can read, no inscription, no signal. It is mute, unintentional, a passive carrier of data but not information, not meaning. And yet we derive meaning. We create narrative. We tell this story of the comet's journey and see in it metaphors for our own, for departure, for release, for the unstoppable momentum of time and change. We are meaning-making creatures. We find patterns. We connect. We see ourselves reflected even in a frozen rock from another star. And perhaps that is enough. Perhaps meaning need not be intrinsic to be real. Perhaps the meaning we create is as valid as any other, as long as it serves, as long as it helps, as long as it guides us toward rest, toward peace, toward the deep time, eternal rest we all seek in sleep's embrace. And so we arrive at a plateau in our journey, a place of maximum distance from waking, of deep relaxation, of surrender so complete that awareness itself begins to fragment, to dissolve, to drift like the atoms of the comet's tail, no longer held in structure, no longer organized, just particles moving through space, through the space of consciousness, through the vast interior landscape where sleep and dream and unconscious process wait patiently for the self to release, to let go, to trust the trajectory, to curve into the dark, and there, in that darkness, in that void integration where individual consciousness merges with the larger processes of brain and body, there, rest occurs, true rest, the rest that restores, that heals, that prepares, and you are ready to make that final descent, that final curve from this high plateau down into the valley of sleep, following the gradient, following the unstoppable vector, following physics and biology and the ancient patterns that have guided living things into sleep for hundreds of millions of years, since the first organisms developed circadian rhythms, since the first neurons fired in patterns of wake and rest. You're heir to that history, that deep evolutionary wisdom, and you can trust it. Trust the fall, trust the trajectory, trust that you will curve through sleep and emerge again in morning, changed, restored, ready, and for now, for this moment, for these final minutes of waking awareness as we simply drift together, comet and consciousness, both headed outward, both following paths determined by forces larger than ourselves, both surrendering to what must be, and in that surrender, in that acceptance, in that release, we find not loss but peace, not ending but transformation, not absence but a different kind of presence, the presence of the sleeping self, the dreaming self, the self that exists below waking thought. And it is time to let that self emerge, time to release the grip of waking, time to follow the deep sleep drift trajectory into the quiet cosmos of rest, into the unyielding peace of the body's wisdom, into the vast dark calm where nothing is required, where nothing is asked, where you simply exist, simply rest, simply are floating weightless through the dark, through the infinite breath of sleep's approach, through the stellar whisper of neurons quieting, through the fading light of consciousness dimming, and all is well. All is exactly as it should be, as the comet drifts outward into the void, as you drift inward towards sleep. Both journeys certain, both journeys peaceful, both journeys necessary and right, and we embrace them, we allow them, we become them, unstoppable, infinite, free, and the boundaries dissolve, the distinctions fade, and there is only motion, only drift, only the gentle, certain trajectory carrying us forward, carrying us down, carrying us into the deep rest where we have always been headed, where we always arrive, where we will always find ourselves, waiting, resting, in the vast dark calm that has no edges, no boundaries, only extension, only continuation, like the linear drift of the comet into galactic night, like the linear drift of consciousness into sleep's embrace, both moving, both still, both everything and nothing, suspended in the moment that stretches, that extends, that becomes all moments, all time, deep time rest where seconds and eons merge, where personal and cosmic become one, where the breath slows and slows and slows, until each breath is a century, each heartbeat a millennium, and you are ancient, patient, eternal. The comet moves through space. Space moves through the comet. Boundaries uncertain. For what is the comet but organized space? Atoms arranged. And what is space but the stage where atoms perform? And the distinction blurs, softens, dissolves. Just as the distinction between you and sleep blurs now, softens, dissolves. You're not separate from sleep. You're becoming sleep. You're already sleep. Just the last whispers of waking awareness observing the transformation, witnessing the inevitable, the unstoppable vector of biology, of circadian rhythm, of adenosine accumulated through the day, now binding to receptors, now quieting neurons, now releasing you into the primordial quiet where thought ceases, where language fades, where there is only sensation, only presence, only the vast dark calm, hyperbolic release, letting go of what cannot be held. The comet releases the sun, you release the day, both departures necessary, both departures graceful, no force required, no effort needed, just allowance, just acceptance. The eccentricity of the orbit exceeds one, exceeds capture, and the eccentricity of consciousness now exceeds waking, exceeds the bound state of attention. You are unbound, you are opening, you are following the curve to straight independence, from the curve of daily concerns to the straight path of sleep simplicity, where nothing branches, nothing complicates, only depth, only descent, only the gentle falling through layers of consciousness, through hypnagogic imagery, through the threshold into sleep proper, the eternal cold distance that the comet knows, the separation from all stars, from all heat sources, alone in the dark between. You know this too in sleep, the separation from waking world, from daily interactions, from all the warmth and noise of conscious life, alone in the dark between days, between moments of awareness, and it is not lonely, it is peaceful, it is the necessary solitude where restoration occurs, where the body repairs, where memories consolidate, where the unconscious processes that sustain you operate freely, unbound assurance that sleep will do its work, that you need not supervise, need not maintain control, can release completely into the galactic silence of inner space. Galactic silence. No sound has ever travelled between stars. No vibration crosses the void. Only light, only gravity, only the slow, patient influences that operate across vast scales. And in your inner space too, silence now, mental chatter fading, the voice that narrates, that comments, that analyzes, growing quiet, pausing, stopping, and in that stopping, in that galactic silence of the mind, there is rest deeper than any sound can reach. There is peace beyond any word. There is the cosmic independence of consciousness released from its task of maintaining self, of monitoring world, of being awake. The weightless surrender. No effort needed to move through space when there is no resistance. The comet drifts, not pushing, not striving, simply continuing the motion already present, and you too, not pushing towards sleep, not striving to rest, simply continuing the relaxation already present, deepening what is already begun, allowing what is already happening, weightless, effortless, surrendered to the process, to the ancient momentum built through the day, through evolution, through the deep structure of living systems that know, that remember, that enact sleep without your conscious guidance. Infinite breath, the universe breathing, expanding, contracting, though that contraction is theoretical, uncertain, for now only expansion, only the stretching of space, only distance increasing between all points, and your breath too, infinite, continuing, automatic, the diaphragm contracting, relaxing, the lungs filling, emptying, without thought, without effort, breath as automatic as the comet's trajectory, as certain, as unstoppable, breath carrying you, each exhalation releasing, each inhalation accepting, breathing yourself into deeper states, into the open finality where breath and consciousness and sleep merge into single process. The fleeting curve near the sun, perihelion moment, brightest moment, peak of visibility, then departure into dimness. And your day too had its perihelion, its peak moments, its brightness. But now the curve away, now the dimness, now the fading light of awareness, magnitude dropping, brightness diminishing, attention span shortening, thoughts fragmenting, and this is right. This is the trajectory. This is the inevitable fade as distance from waking increases, as the solar center of consciousness recedes, as you move outward into the dark periphery where sleep dwells. Unbound assurance, mathematical certainty encoded in energy and trajectory. The comet will escape. You will sleep. Both guaranteed by natural law, both inevitable, both requiring only that you not interfere, not resist. The assurance that release is possible, that departure is allowed, that you can let go completely and trust the process, trust the biology, trust the billions of years of evolution that shaped sleep, that made it necessary, that made it restorative, unbound from doubt, unbound from fear, unbound from the need to control, simply drifting, simply following, simply being carried. The stellar whisper, faint signal across vast distance, requiring sensitive instruments to detect. And now your consciousness is that stellar whisper, faint, distant, requiring effort to maintain. And why maintain Why not let it fade completely? Why not allow the signal to drop below threshold, below detection, into the noise floor, into the background, into the vast quiet where no signals exist, only the hiss of quantum fluctuations, only the randomness of neural firing unorganized by waking, only the primordial cold whisper of the brain in sleep state, dreaming, processing, being, ancient momentum, built over eons, carrying the comet, and built over hours, carrying you. The sleep pressure increasing all day, adenosine accumulating, wake time extending, until now. The momentum towards sleep is overwhelming, is irresistible, is the dominant force, and you yield to it, you merge with it, you become it. Ancient momentum of circadian rhythm, of homeostatic drive, of the body's wisdom saying now is the time, now is the moment, now release, now sleep, now rest. Void integration, the comet merging with interstellar space, atoms from the coma dispersing, becoming part of the void. No longer identifiable as comet material, just particles among particles, and your consciousness too, integrating with void, with the unconscious, with the deep processes that have no ego, no self, no identity, just neural activity, just brain states, just the physical substrate of mind operating without narrative, without story. You're dissolving into that, into the void integration where self becomes no self, where awareness becomes unawareness, where the boundary between you and sleep vanishes completely. Unyielding peace. Nothing can disturb the comet's trajectory. No force sufficient to capture it, to turn it around. And nothing can disturb the peace of deep sleep once entered. No thought, no worry, no external sound unless loud enough to wake. But in the depth, in the core of sleep, unyielding peace reigns, the peace of the body's rest, the peace of the brain's night work, the peace of existence without agenda, without purpose other than being, than restoration, than continuation. The Oort cloud's fragile farewell, last tenuous connection to the sun, last outpost of solar influence. The comet passes through, and you pass through the last outpost of waking, the hypnagogic state, the threshold, the fragile farewell to conscious day, and beyond it, true sleep, true departure, true integration with the night. No longer visiting sleep, but being sleep. No longer approaching rest, but being rest. The heliopause's true threshold crossed, and on the other side, the interstellar medium's calm vacuum, the sleep state proper, where you will spend hours, cycling through stages, dreaming, restoring, being, linear infinite path. No curves now, no deviations, just straight continuation into depth, into the deep sleep drift trajectory that has no end within the night, that extends as far as needed, as long as body requires, following the linear infinite path of sleep's necessity, of biology's requirement, of the fundamental need that all complex organisms share, to rest, to cease activity, to allow repair and consolidation and growth. The path extends before you, behind you, around you, and you are on it, moving, drifting, falling gently along it into depth, into vastness, into the non-capture gentle release where nothing holds you, nothing binds you. You are free to sleep, free to rest, free to be absent from waking world, primordial quiet, the silence before stars formed, before galaxies coalesced, before structure emerged from the smooth plasma of the early universe. That deep quiet, that absence of pattern, that pure potentiality exists in sleep too. The quiet before dreams, the silence between thoughts, the still point where consciousness rests between its manifestations, and you approach that now. That primordial quiet of deep sleep, where nothing stirs, where even dreams cease, where only the slow waves of delta rhythm roll through cortex, 3 oscillations per second, slower than thought, slower than perception, the rhythm of deep rest, of restoration, of the brain's night work proceeding in silence. The unstoppable vector, aimed outward, aimed inward, aimed toward continuation of the journey. Nothing can prevent it, nothing can alter its fundamental direction. And you are that vector now, aimed toward sleep with unstoppable momentum, the vector of biology, of circadian need, of accumulated fatigue, all aligned, all pointing the same direction, down, in, deep, following the vector, being the vector, becoming the emotion itself rather than the thing moving. Vast, dark calm, stretching, infinite, comfortable. The darkness not threatening but embracing. The vastness not empty but full of potential. The calm not stagnation but peace. And you float in it, rest in it, merge with it, becoming vast, becoming dark, becoming calm. The boundaries of self expanding to include the darkness, to include the vastness, to include all of it, until there is no separation between you and the vast dark calm. You are it. It is you, and there is only being, only existence, only the eternal now of sleep's embrace. Deep time rest, where you have always been resting, where you will always be resting, outside the flow of time, in the eternal present where past and future collapse, where all moments exist simultaneously, the rest that has no beginning because it has always been, no ending because it will always be. You are entering that timelessness now, that eternity, that deep time rest where clocks have no meaning, where duration is irrelevant, where there is only the eternal rest, the eternal peace, the eternal darkness. Non-capture. You cannot be captured by waking, cannot be pulled back, cannot be held in the day. You are released. You are departing. You are gone into the realm where waking has no power, where thoughts have no grip, where identity loosens, softens, fades. Non-capture encoded in the depth of your relaxation, in the weight of your limbs, in the slowness of your breath. Nothing can capture you now. You are free, unbound, escaped into sleep's gravity well, into the orbit that is not an orbit but a passage, a transit, a journey through the night of self. And in that letting go, you are free, you are vast, you are nothing and everything. Hyperbolic letting go, the final release, the ultimate surrender, letting go not of something but of everything, of all holding, all grasping, all maintaining. Hyperbolic because complete, because total, because beyond the threshold of return, you have let go of waking, of thought, of self, and in that letting go, you are free, you are vast, you are nothing and everything. The hyperbola opening into infinity, your consciousness opening into sleep, into dream, into the depths beyond dream, into the pure rest of deep sleep. into the delta waves, into the slow oscillations, into the rhythm of restoration, eternal cold distance, measured not in kilometers, but in states of being, the distance between waking and sleeping, between conscious and unconscious, between self and no self, cold because quiet, because still, because all the heat of daily activity has dissipated, radiated away into the night, and what remains is the cool rest, the cold peace, the eternal distance from everything that was, that will be suspended in the eternal now of sleep's timelessness, eternal cold distance embracing you, surrounding you, becoming you, open finality, the orbit that never closes, the journey that never returns to its starting point, each sleep unique, each night different. You will wake tomorrow, yes, but you will not return to this moment. This version of you is departing, will be transformed by sleep, by dreams, by rest, and tomorrow's waking self will be new, different, changed. The open finality of transformation, of growth, of the constant becoming that defines living, and for now, for this sleep, this night, this journey. Open finality is peace, is release, is the comfort of knowing that continuation does not require return, that forward is the only direction, that the path opens before you infinitely, fading light, the last photons of consciousness, the last sparks of waking awareness, fading, dimming, dropping below magnitude, below threshold, below detection. The light fading not suddenly but gradually, asymptotically approaching darkness but never quite. Always some faint residual awareness, some minimal processing, until even that, even the awareness of fading, fades, and there is only darkness, only silence, only the vast dark calm, only sleep, cosmic independence, free from all bonds, all connections, all relationships. In sleep you are alone, perfectly, completely, cosmically alone, independent of world, of others, of even your own waking self. This independence is not isolation but liberation, is the freedom to exist without reference, without context, without meaning, just being, just resting, just sleeping. Cosmic independence, unbound, free, vast, and the journey continues into depths beyond words, beyond description, beyond even these fading whispers. The comet drifts outward, you drift inward, both following their paths, both certain, both unstoppable, both at peace, and the galaxy turns, and the planet spins, and the night deepens, and sleep claims you, and all is vast, all is dark, all is calm, all is rest, all is peace, all vast, dark, calm, unstoppable vector, primordial quiet, non-capture, deep time rest, hyperbolic release, eternal cold distance, galactic silence, linear drift, weightless surrender, infinite breath, cosmic independence, fleeting curve, unbound assurance, ancient momentum, stellar whisper, open finality, fading light, void integration, unyielding peace, vast, dark, calm, deep, rest, peace, silence, drift, release, sleep, sleep, sleep. And in the silence, in the vastness, in the deep, dark calm of infinite rest, where the comet has always been drifting, where you have always been sleeping, where the universe has always been expanding into its own eternal night, there is nothing but peace, nothing but continuation, nothing but the certain trajectory carrying all things forward, outward, deeper, into the mystery, into the unknown, into the vast welcoming darkness that asks nothing, requires nothing, simply receives, simply holds, simply is, and you are held there. You are received there. You are at rest there, in the galactic silence between all things, in the deep time that has no measure, in the hyperbolic letting go that releases everything. And there is no you, there is no comet, there is no separation, only the vast process, only the universal drift, only existence being itself, resting in itself, knowing itself as vast, as dark, as calm, as eternal. The stars wheel overhead, unseen in sleep. The comet moves, unfelt, unthought, and you rest, perfect, complete, whole, in the depths where nothing is needed, where nothing is wanted, where all is already provided, already present, already perfect, just as it is, just as you are, just as everything has always been. Deep, so deep, deeper than thought, deeper than dream, into the silence at the center, the stillness at the core, where the universe rests in itself, where you rest in yourself, where rest is all there is, all there ever was, all there ever will be. Vast dark calm, vast dark calm, vast dark, calm, weightless, drifting, released, the trajectory carrying you, carrying everything, into depth, into distance, into the eternal now that has no boundary, no edge, no ending, just continuation, just the infinite path stretching, forever, and you upon it, resting, sleeping, being, the cosmic independence of sleep embracing you, the galactic silence surrounding you, the unyielding peace holding you, nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to be, except this, except rest, except the deep sleep drift trajectory that has become your entire reality, your entire existence, your entire being, drifting, drifting, drifting into the vast welcoming void, into the interstellar calm, into the deep time rest where all journeys end and begin, where all things merge, where separation is impossible, where you and sleep and universe are one, and perhaps dreams come, perhaps images flicker, perhaps the brain tells itself stories, but beneath that, deeper than that, there is only the vast dark calm, only the unstoppable vector of the night, only the ancient momentum carrying you through hours of restoration, through cycles of sleep stages, through the necessary journey that every living thing must make, the journey into unconsciousness, into the temporary death that is not death but renewal, into the nightly departure that makes each tomorrow possible. And you are safe there, you are held there, you are home there, in the deep sleep, in the profound rest, in the place where the comet has always been. Cold, dark, silent, peaceful, eternal, primordial quiet, the silence before creation, the silence after, the silence that is not absence but presence, the presence of pure being, of existence without modification, without quality, without characteristic, just isness, just being. And in that being, in that pure existence, there is rest so deep that it has no bottom, peace so vast that it has no boundary, calm so complete that it cannot be disturbed. And this is sleep. This is the gift. This is the nightly return to the source, to the origin, to the deep quiet from which all things emerge, and to which all things return. The comet moves 20 kilometers per second, 15, 10, slowing over centuries, over millennia, but always moving, always continuing, always following the path, and you too, moving through sleep stages, through dreams, through depths, always continuing, always following, always trusting the process, trusting the body, trusting the ancient wisdom of biology that has guided organisms into sleep for hundreds of millions of years. You are part of that, heir to that, expression of that, and it carries you safely, perfectly, exactly as you need. Vast, dark, calm, these three words, repeating, fading, like a mantra, like a prayer. Vast, dark, calm, vast, dark, calm, until even the words lose meaning, become just sound, just vibration, just the faintest whisper of neural activity, and then not even that, just silence, just darkness, just the deep sleep drift trajectory, carrying you now, completely, fully, into the place beyond words, beyond thought, beyond awareness, into sleep proper, into the night's embrace, into the rest that restores, that heals, that makes tomorrow possible. And as consciousness fades to its lowest ebb, as the night deepens toward its core, as sleep becomes total, complete, absolute, there is only the unstoppable vector, only the linear drift, only the infinite path, stretching before and behind, above and below, through and around, everywhere and nowhere, the path that is not a path but the nature of things, the way things are, the way things must be, and you follow, you follow, you follow, into the deepest dark, the vastest calm, the most profound rest, where nothing stirs, where all is still, where peace reigns eternal. And in that peace, in that stillness, in that silence, you rest, you sleep, you are simply, purely, completely at rest. Vast, dark, calm, unstoppable, vector, primordial, quiet, deep, time, rest, hyperbolic, release, cold, distance, silence, drift, surrender, breath, independence, curve, assurance, momentum, whisper, finality, light, void, peace, and the universe continues its expansion, and the galaxy rotates, and the comet drifts, and you sleep, and all is exactly as it should be, exactly as it must be, and the night holds you, and sleep restores you, and tomorrow waits. Patient, certain, but for now, for this eternal now, there is only rest, only peace, only the vast dark calm, only the deep sleep drift trajectory, only the journey into night, into depth, into the place where consciousness goes when it releases, when it lets go, when it surrenders completely to the unstoppable vector of sleep's necessity. And in that surrender, in that final release, in that ultimate letting go, there is freedom, there is peace, there is the cosmic independence of the sleeping self, unbound from waking world, unbound from daily concerns, unbound from everything except the simple necessity of rest, of restoration, of being, just being, nothing more required, nothing more needed, just being, just resting, just sleeping in the vast dark calm, in the eternal cold distance, in the galactic silence where the comet has always been. where you have always been, where all things rest between their moments of visibility, their moments of brightness, their brief curves through the light, before returning, always returning, to the darkness, to the vastness, to the calm, to the deep sleep drift trajectory, to the journey that never ends because it was never separate from being, to the rest that is always present beneath the activity, to the silence that underlies all sound, to the darkness that contains all light, to the vastness that holds all form, to the calm that embraces all motion. And you are there, you have arrived, you are home, in sleep, in rest, in peace, in the deep, the deep, the deep,